Some technologies will call it as parallel. So some technologies call it as multitasking. Both are same. So parallel tasks, multitasking, both are same. It can handle the same options here. So let's see one simple point. That means actually to handle these asynchronous types requests, we can use Java's async library. It uses an JavaScript asynchronous library. With the help of JavaScript asynchronous library, we can manage this. So technically, what is the both techniques? One simple example I will show you. For that, we need one more option, as I told you, like files. One simple library also we will see, that is the files. Node.js, so file system. So how we can handle the file system library. So Node.js file system. So that is FS, how we can use that FS library. Actually, Node.js provides input and output operations. Node.js so provides FS module to handle interactions with files, interaction with files. So reading the content of file, writing into file. So and other file manipulations are handled by using this FS. So usually it is responsible for handling all this content. Now, generally, for that we need a special library. We will import that module, right? You have to install FS module, file system module for Node.js, So we will do that. So let's go to our project here. Let's go to the project, and in the terminal we will install npm install fs. We are installing that FS library for us. That is FS. FS is installed successfully. So this is required especially for handling the files. So for handling the files, we need this module. So we need to import this module and install it. Okay. So we are installing that FS module, and just you can do so by using npm install fs. So fs. So now how these techniques work, how we can handle reading the file, so opening the files, so managing the files. We need to handle the read-write operations. This file system provides certain commands. By using the commands, we can read the files, we can write data into the files, and other manipulations. So let's see how to use them. One simple example first we will see. For managing this asynchronous calls, how to handle the asynchronous calls. Asynchronous and synchronous, how it can maintain that. So for example, suppose, so we have a document inside this server. In the server folder, I have a new file. I'm giving a new file and some help.txt. So there is a help text file. So this is Node.js help. So and so this is This is Node.js official help document, something content I written there. Some information is present inside this help.txt. Now we need to read the content from the file and we need to use this file, means access and use the file. So for that, first what we have to do is, so I will create a new file demo.js. We will create a program, a simple server-side program, and for that we are configuring the module. So where fs is equal to require fs. The fs is the library, this is the module. Now fs provides several important methods. So by using those methods, we can read the files, we can manage the files, we can handle so many. So you can simply use two important options here. So synchronous, asynchronous. Let's see. So currently fs module provides a method called read file. So let me give you an option here. Yeah. fs module provides following methods to read the content from file. It provides two important methods for reading. One is, so we have an read file method, which is used to read the file. It uses asynchronous technique. So it uses asynchronous technique. Another one, we have a read file sync. This uses synchronous technique. It uses synchronous technique. So we will see one example. Later we will implement in our data binding interactions and all. So we will use them. And that is for reading the file. So read the content from the file. Open the files, reading the files. So and reading and writing data into files. All such operations. So with commands, we will see one simple point we will discuss then. Technical. So I will show you both synchronous and asynchronous way. That means, so synchronous, how it can perform. Synchronous. As I told you, synchronous means it uses blocking technique. That means it will not allow any another task to run parallelly. It will allow only a specific task to perform. It will not allow any another task parallel. So here, so we want to read the file content. So then we are using fs dot, we have a read file sync. It is a synchronous method. So which file it should read, we have to mention the file. So that means here I defined, so file name is help.txt. You can define its path where it is present. Currently it is present in the same folder. Now whatever data present in this file, it will read and it will return that file, and it is a synchronously reads the entire content of the file. So that means when it is reading, it will block all other contents. So and it will return the data. So we will store that in a var str. So str contains the result. That means whatever data present in the file is present in this str. and we will print the data. So console.log, we are printing that data, whatever data present in file. So you see here, so we are defining some messages. Console.log. The first message is read started. And so after that it is reading. So then console.log, I will say read complete. These are the three options. Now in this program, three tasks are there. In this program, three tasks are there. So one is reading the content from the file and presenting it. Another, printing two messages, read started, read complete. So now the point is, generally when these all tasks are executed, so we have the lightweight tasks and the heavy tasks. Lightweight tasks are simply printing these messages. Heavy task is this reading the file and printing the file. Now generally, if you are using a synchronous technique, it will execute everything in order. That means, so first it will start with this one. After that, it should print this one. It should print that one. Then in that case, read completed. After read completed, it will wait until this message is printed. After the message is printed, then whatever it read completed, it will print that. Then it will print the last message. Everything will execute in a sequential order. That means it's not like lightweight task will execute first, heavy task will execute later, or all the tasks will execute at a time. Already I told you, actually, synchronous technique means, so in the request and response mechanism, already in diagram I given to you, usually what happens now is we have some three tasks. That means we have task 1 and we have task 2 and task 3 and task 4. Suppose we have 4 tasks and the client makes a request. So that means first request comes to the first task. Already this diagram I given to you. And after that, it will wait until response comes from that. After it finished, then it will go to the second. Similarly, it will wait until the response comes from second. Then it will go to third. That is synchronous. That means it will be in a sequential order, performing all the tasks. It will be performing all the tasks in a sequential order. Now here you can see now. So when I run this program, so this is synchronous. So and let's open this and run. So file demo. .js. So the JavaScript, and it is reading the content in some binary form. We will, because any file content is written in a binary form, we will convert to string. You know that. So that means dot to, I will convert that to string. So because it is reading the file content and returning. And then it is reading the content present in that file, whatever the content is present in the file, and read completed. That means all the tasks will execute in the same order how you defined. It will execute everything in the same order how you defined. So this is technically handling through synchronous mechanism, right? That is synchronous. So this is an example for synchronous. All the tasks are performed one after another. And this is an example. Suppose some demo.js. In that, this is the program. This is the program. That means all the tasks are performed one after another, one after another. Let me give you a screenshot for this output also. It will be helpful. So here, this is the output it is going to display. So this is the output it is going to display. So let's keep that and put it here. This is the output it is displaying there. Now, this is how it is managing the output for asynchronous calls. So now let's take an example. So synchronous calls, how we do. Right. Already yesterday I given you a syntax. You go through that, how to install the modules and all in the notes I given. You can go through that. npm install. The commands and everything I given here, right? How do we install and all those options are there. OS is by default available. You don't need to install any OS module. Understood? It is available from the base module. Right? Anything additionally to be installed, I am giving in the note. You can go through that, right? How do we install and work with that, right? This is synchronous mechanism, how it is handling the tasks. How it manages asynchronously, we will see that, how it works asynchronously. So for asynchronous, you have another technique. So an asynchronous technique is by using a read file. Read file uses an asynchronous technique. So asynchronous technique, how it works, let's see with an example. Asynchronous, that means it is a unblocking technique. So unblocking technique. So unblocking technique, this also I told you in the introduction that Node.js uses this unblocking technique. That means after making request to the first resource, it will not wait for a response. It will automatically get request to the second and the third and fourth. Whichever response is ready, that response will go to the client. That means there is no sequential order for execution here. So that means the lightweight task will go first and the heavy task will be performing in background. So parallelly it can perform the tasks. So parallelly it can handle the tasks. That's what generally we call this as, we also call this as parallel. So that is done by using another method. The same example we will see now. You run any number of times. So in order to test is this working correctly or not, you can run several times because our memory allocations and the speed of the processor, it will handle the tasks. You can see every time when I run, it is executing in the same order. The order not changed. The read started and everything is done in the same way. But now let's go here. So, and change this approach here. So what we are doing is by using fs. So fs have a method called read file, read file. We are using this read file method. And this read file method is an asynchronous method. And you can observe that this read file is expecting the file name. So we define the file name. File name is help.txt. And it is expecting a callback function. We write a callback function. This callback function will have two parameters. So one is always in the callback function, we will have an error, and we will have the data returned by that particular file, whatever data returned by that particular file. And you know that these two are formal parameters. You can give any name. First parameter contains information about the error. That means the error occurred. So error occurred while reading the file. If the file not found, so if the file path is wrong, right? And if there is some problem in the file, if there is any problem in the file, so then it will return that error, unable to read the file. So it will return the error. So, and if it is not having an error, then whatever data is present, it will return the data. It will return the data. So here we are writing a condition if not having any error, if not having any error, so not error. If not having any error, then we will just display the data returned. That means console.log, whatever data is there, data.toString, we will return the data. If there is an error, that means if there is a problem, then it should return that error. Whatever problem is there, it should return that error. So we can simply catch that error message and display. So console.log, I can keep that error message directly. That means whatever the exception it catched, that exception message we can gather and we can display that. So that exception message it will get and it will display. Right. So now we are saving this, and we have some operations now to complete here. So you can see I am writing here console.log. So I said read started, and console.log. So I said read end. These messages I am defining here. Read started, read end. So now the point is actually this is the first task, which is reading the file and returning the file. This is the second one. This is the third one. According to the sequential order. That means first reading the file, after that presenting these messages. Now when I compile and run this, you can see, so when we are executing this, so you can see here, it is going to display this read started, read end first, and after that this message. So why these two messages are at the top and why this is at the end? Because in the sequence it is first actually. As per the order, first we are reading and returning the file, then we are presenting these messages. But it is not doing this work. You see, console log is there. Before the read started, this is there. But it takes some time to perform this task. So what our process will do is, it will not allow to lock the other tasks. So it will be parallelly running and it will call the other tasks. Then what happens is, whenever this is ready, that response will come. Whenever the result of reading file is ready, that response will come. So technically it is handling that. So with asynchronous approach. So that means parallel it is executing. That is the reason, if as per the order it has to execute, first it should return the file, then it should return these messages. Suppose there is a problem in the file name. Now there is a problem in the file name or its path. When I run this, you can see read started, read ended, and an error message came here. Error message is nothing but it says that so this error, no such file in the directory, no such file in the directory, and it displays lot of message, lot of information. Actually it displays lot of information because so it is an error is an object. Error object contains lot of details, so we can display all the details or any specific details. So we can display all the details or any specific details. Currently we are catching all the details and displaying the details that we are managing with this error. Actually error, you see, error has message. So error object comprises of message. So error object comprises of error code. It comprises of lot of details: error name, error message, error code. Same like we have learned in jQuery Ajax. Error object comprises of lot of. When I put error message here, then when I compile and run this, it will just display the message. It will not display other details. We can be specific in displaying the details. We can display the error code. We can display the error message. We can display some other option also. So that means we can put a custom message also here. Custom message, for that we don't need an error object. Custom message means simply you can say that so something went wrong. So this message we can display. So that means it will execute that and it will display that. It says something went wrong. So but it is good so that we can easily understand what the problem is if we can get the error message and display that error message. So we can get all the information and specific details also. This is handling. So through asynchronous technique, it is handling this. Through asynchronous, it is handling. So the same, so you create a simple file, so demo.js, and into that file we are adding this logic, and the output now will be little different. So let's keep this file name correct here, help.txt. Okay. So I'm just changing that help.txt there, right? Yes. And this is going to display the message. So I will save that and compile so that I can get the correct screen. Yes. So this is the output it shows, the output it displays. And here it can perform the task along with another task. So that is asynchronous. How it manages the asynchronous. So while working with the files, so it has this approach of handling the file. And there are several file related flags. That means file reading and writing related methods. So this is reading the files and using the asynchronous and synchronous tasks. So usually you can use various attributes. By using the attributes, we can read the file and we can display the file content. We can perform several operations on the files, like writing the data into the files, and all these things we can manage. But here our main intention is to first understand files means we will see resources, how to manage and how do we work. So by using Express, we will learn in the Express resources and all. Initially, what is required for our web development, so that we will discuss detail, so that it will be easy for us to understand the approach and all. Generally, there is another option in Node.js. So Node.js, so this is just handling the files and managing that asynchronously and hand interactions. Actually, Node.js uses so an Async Js. So Node.js can use an Async Js. Actually, it can use an Async Js. This is a special library. This is a special library for handling multiple tasks. So, simultaneously handling the multiple tasks. It is a special library for handling the multiple tasks simultaneously. So, you can use this async library. So, and you can handle the asynchronous tasks for various interactions. You have seen asynchronous and synchronous for files actually, but not only for files, we can manage that. So for various other interactions also, for that we need to use this asynchronous library, and in the asynchronous library manage all the interactions. For that we need a separate asynchronous library to handle. So node.js uses, let me give you that. So Node.js uses async and await like functions. So by using these async and await functions, it can handle the interactions. So the first important you need to understand how the async and await options are used. Not only just file handling, when you are handling various interactions in the server side technologies, these two are very important. So generally async, so we have async, yeah, async and await. So async and await are the keywords that allows to write asynchronous code. So without depending on callback mechanism, actually previously, to design asynchronous, we used a callback mechanism. You see, so this is using a callback mechanism. Through the callback mechanism, we are handling the asynchronous. Now async will allow to handle without the callback mechanism. So without the callback mechanism, so that is one important advantage so of using this async and await. So async await keywords, so keywords are used to handle asynchronous asynchronous interactions without using callback. That is the main intention actually, without using the callbacks. That doesn't depend on the callbacks. So or generally people call that without using callbacks and chaining methods, the methods that execute like a then clause, the methods will execute, which I will show you generally. So technically, these are the important options which you can use. Actually, they are provided by JavaScript. JavaScript provides the in the latest versions we can use this async and await functionalities. So using this we can handle several interactions. This I will show you in majority while working with databases and all. We will see how to handle this asynchronous requests and manage the asynchronous requests. So generally these two keywords so are used for handling those interactions. Let's write one simple logic for that. Means generally how the options can work, how it can perform several interactions, and it can do all these tasks step by step. First, for that you need to understand the callbacks mechanism requires an external functionality to execute. Without callbacks, we can directly perform the functions. Let me give you the syntax, how this asynchronous is written. So syntactically, let's keep a syntax here. That means how these async and await options are used. First, generally, you need to understand so how they are used in JavaScript, because we are using these in JavaScript, means Node.js uses JavaScript. So we need to understand how it is used in JavaScript. Let's see. I will show you how it is used. We need to handle so by using the keyword async, and we need to write a function. We need to write a function. So any name for the function, and it should return some message. This is the async keyword. That means it is returning some value. It is returning something. It is returning something. So that means this is returning the function. You can also return any function or any message. So suppose temporarily I'm giving return a message, some message it is returning, or so return some value it is returning. It can also use async can use a function. So and that function can use a closure also. That means what it can do is it can return, so it can return so another function. So we generally call that as promise. I will show you that. So it can resolve that function, and it can return that. So it can handle so various interactions. So it can manage various interactions, and JavaScript directly allows you to handle asynchronous, and generally we call promise means, so this promise is nothing but it executes in a sequential order. That means I am showing you first without async await how generally JavaScript manages this asynchronous. Then we will see in Node.js async and await how they will simplify this work. They are going to simplify this work. That means what we do is, so we have to use chaining. So you have to configure chaining. You have to configure chaining methods. We have to configure the chaining methods by using so your function name, and we have to define the functions to execute. So that means
Hello.
then contains so function,
Yes.
so function on success. If you remembered,
Today.
these are all callbacks,
Okay.
and it contains function on failure.
Yes.
Failure.
Yes. Yes.
Already
I
I
am
told you in
available.
Ajax, if you remember this. So this one function on
Okay.
success, another function on failure. This uses a callback technique actually. That is the callback mechanism. If success, what should happen? If failure, what should happen? We need to manage in this way. We need to manage. That means generally synchronous requires all these actions to perform. All these actions to perform. So generally, how we write this in JavaScript, how do we deal that in JavaScript? This is how we write in JavaScript and jQuery also. I showed you when we learned about Ajax. Ajax uses
Hello.
these callbacks. So asynchronously, it will make the request and uses them. It is internally
Okay.
using.
In which time?
Explicitly in JavaScript, we can use this asynchronous also.
Okay.
Implicitly, if you remembered, I given you that example in, I think, jQuery Ajax example, right? In jQuery Ajax example, I given you that option. In jQuery Ajax, so I given you the option. So it uses, yeah, it uses the function. You see, this is the functions that we learned in Ajax. Actually, this Ajax is using an asynchronous functionality only. So this is chaining. These are callbacks. This is chaining. These are the callbacks. And if success, one message, if failure, another message. Already we learned this when we are discussing about Ajax. We learned this. So initially, So how the asynchronous tasks will happen, how the asynchronous tasks will execute. Let's see one simple option we will see here. One simple option as per HTML. Now, how Node.js can simplify that? Node.js simplifies that. I will show you both techniques. Some demo.html. So in JavaScript, how this is managed and how Node.js can change that, right? Let's see one simple example for that. Right, we are having a script and we just have a div, so and id as some msg, something like this. Now we are configuring, so we are configuring a function. Some hello is the function. Hello function, it is having some message it has to get and display that message. That means it is accessing get element by id msg and dot inner html. It will display that message, whatever the message we pass into the hello, right? Whatever we pass into the hello. Now usually we are configuring an asynchronous function. We are configuring an asynchronous function. And this async, how we will define an asynchronous function? We have to use async. We need to define async. Async and the function should use any function name. That means some function is get or execute method. That is the function, or I will say as main task, that is the function. And this function should return some message. So that is some hello, that is the message it is going to return. Some message it is returning. This is an asynchronous. We have two tasks here. One is the main task, another one is hello. So, and what we are doing now is we are executing that function. We are executing the function. That means the main task is executed. And when the main task is executed, observe carefully. This main task is executed, and it is an asynchronous task. That means it will allow you to handle the other tasks parallelly. That you have to define. Then it has to execute. A callback function. So it has to execute a callback function. So that means it has to execute a callback function. So this is the callback function. To execute the callback function, this callback function will get the value. It will get the value. And it will pass that value. It will pass that value into the hello method. Into hello method, it will pass that value. That means whatever the result of this main task, that result will be sent into this value. That value will be passed into another function which will execute under that main task. That is hello method. Into that value is passed. That means whatever it is having, suppose here we are writing, so welcome to async methods. So async techniques, async techniques, like something like this. So that is we are defining, and it is executing that. And if there is a problem, that means this is then function, and this function will execute if there is a problem. This is another function. This function will call. That means this function contains error. This function contains error, and it will send hello. So into that hello, it will send that error. If there is a problem, it will send that error message. This is how actually the callback is managed. In general JavaScript based environment. This is very complicated. This is very complicated. Lot of callbacks and all are complicated. Node.js uses the special library for this, which will allow you to handle such interactions without much callbacks. Without much callbacks. It allows to handle such interactions without much callbacks. Technically, actually, when you run this, so the intention of this message is to display some message on the screen and configure that. And you can see here, so you can see in the console error, cannot set property for this inner HTML. What is that? So MSG is, it's fine. This is suppose, because we need to configure that on body load and all, right? So we need to tell when the function to execute, when to configure that, because we are writing in a script element. So then better we can keep this, because we don't have the body design. Okay. In the promise, it has the issue. Because on the body load, better to perform all these tasks. Some problem. Is unable to get this MSG. MSG1, I changed it. Okay, fine, that's working, right? So you can see that because we have to write on body load, so we haven't written any body load function, so just we are configuring here. So now see what happens here. So we have one function called hello, and we have a main task. Inside the main task, this hello function is called. That means it is performing these two functionalities. This main task is returning a message, and it is sending the message to another function. These two functions are parallelly functioning. Async indicates that when this is working, don't lock other tasks. Parallelly execute the other tasks. So this is called parallel execution. This is called parallel execution. And this is called asynchronous. So this asynchronous is already there in JavaScript. This is general in JavaScript. You can see, I will give you that in JavaScript. This is already there in JavaScript. This is an example for that. Now this can be easily managed without using much callbacks. We can manage this for all kind of functionalities with simple async and await in Node.js. So Node.js uses async and await in order to handle all these complex functionalities without using much callbacks and chaining. So that we will see, and we have to use this everywhere now. So when you are connecting with the database, reading the data from database, returning the data, you need to use this approach everywhere. So how do we use asynchronous calls? So for file handling, it is having its own methods. Internally, it has its own methods, but other kind of interactions, you have to write by your own. So by using async and await techniques. So that is what we need to understand. How do we write that, which we have to use in connecting with database and managing. That we will see in our next session, right? In the next session, we are going to learn about async and await, which is very important for people. Even in JavaScript based interviews at experience level, they ask you questions about async and await. So for experience level people, they ask. So that's the reason you need to be strong in understanding these asynchronous techniques that we will see in our next session, right? So Monday, we will discuss about that. Yeah, how to handle the asynchronous interacting with the data resources and all. Okay. Right.